All right. Welcome to the Pinstripers podcast, a podcast about pinstripers hosted by two pinstripers. I'm one of your hosts, Jack Fleming.
And I am your other host, Freddie Villa. And today we have the legendary Tom Kelly coming out of California. We did also have a sponsor that helped us out with $50 for the episodes by the name of Steve Contos. Thank you very much, Steve, for helping out. If anybody would like to help support the podcast here, we're asking for $50, and we'll give you a shout out on the episode. We'll shout out your company or whatever else that you would like. Jack, you had a little bit of business there that you wanted to tell folks on your charity auction that's coming up.
Yeah, real quick back on what you were talking about, just so that people know the money from that kind of goes. It costs us money to put the podcast out there, like a monthly subscription deal. So it's to help cover that. And we really, really appreciate that. Yeah, we've got the Great Texas Panel Jam is coming up in February. If you're local or you want to travel and come to it, it's February 16th through 18th. We've got some great artists that are going to be there. Todd Hansen's going to be there this year. Jen Thomas. That's my two. Well, no, I've got Joe Vincent as well. 3 out-of-staters that I can think of. And then a whole bunch of us Texas pinstripers here. But we are at the moment, and I was asked to maybe put a little plug. We have an Amazon wish list out there just of some supplies that help us to make the show work and run. Simple things: paper towel, cups, popsicle sticks. I think we've got a few of those covered at this point. If you're following us on social media, you can find that on my Facebook page. There's also the Great Texas Panel Jam has an Instagram page, and that information is there as well. If you're wanting to help support that a little bit. And all the funds from that show go to the Scottish Rite Children's Hospital in Dallas.
Yeah, so it's for a great cause, folks. If you can help, please do. And we had a chance to speak to Tom Kelly. I did. There was moments, and I gotta explain myself. There are moments where I was trying to jump in, and I felt really bad afterwards that I was kind of trying to cut in. So I'm sorry if y'all hear me kind of. It's difficult on these phone calls to understand when somebody's paused or stopped talking. So my apologies on that. And that's it, folks. Please leave us some comments if you like it. Please share the podcast, and we really, really appreciate y'all listening. And without further ado, here's Tom Kelly.
Are we ready and rolling, Freddie?
We are ready and rolling. Y'all go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, hello, sir.
How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you very much for being on this with us and letting us interview you.
Well, I hope it works out for you.
Yeah, well, I hope the sound works out good is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, we are, like I said, very... I guess for the people that are listening to this, we're speaking to Tom Kelly today. And I guess rather than me kind of giving any kind of intro, I'd like to ask a bunch of questions because I have a bunch.
Okay. I hope I can answer them.
All right. Me and Freddie here, we're both kind of talking a little bit, and we know a little bit about you, but really not a whole lot. I know, I guess it was your grandfather was the Baron.
Right. Right.
And then Crazy Painters it was you and him originally. Is that correct? Or
right. That was us. And then we joined up with Ed Roth.
Okay. Yeah. I guess kind of, how did all of that get started with you and your grandfather? I know you were pretty young with that from what I can find out information wise.
Yeah. I started working when I was 13 with him. So.
And then what was his background?
His background, basically he started, he didn't know how to pinstripe, but he was looking for a job and at a young age, and he went into the Studebaker factory where they stripe wagons and buggies and things. And he was in this line waiting to be either hired or fired, either way. And he was watching the man up front, way up there, and he was in the line, and he was interviewing all the people, and they was letting them pallet a brush, a striping brush with paint. And he watched them as they were doing that, and some of them were just dabbing the brush in there, and and he says, "Nope, that's all right, go away." And the ones that know what they were doing, they were slapping it down and moving it back and forth, and getting the paint fully into the brush. Well, that's what he did, and he got hired as a pinstriper. And then he had to learn, because he knew he was watching them pallet the brush, so it looked like he had experience. So he got the job, and then he had to learn on the job how to stripe. But he had an art background anyway, so he was in good shape. So we got that job. Pardon?
Oh, sorry to interrupt there. What time period would that have been?
That would have been early 1900s.
Okay.
Wow.
So, and he worked there for, 4 or 5 years. And then he worked for Ford for 25 years on the line, striping the cars on the line. And that's where he got his nickname, the Baron. Because all the guys, all the guys called him the Baron because he was a good striper. And they kind of looked up to him. So anyway, after 25 years, the striping was over. That was back in the 1936 area.
Okay.
So because they stopped striping the cars then, they still striped the rims, but not the bodies. So that's when they added chrome to it.
Okay.
So he did that, and then he stopped the striping, and he went into interior painting on houses and that, where they were doing the more expensive homes where they were more detailed in the paint work on the inside. So he did that for a while there, and then he retired. And then in the early times, 50s, 52, 50, almost 53, striping came back, and that was because of Kenny Howard.
Right.
And and just kind of working at a body shop, I'm assuming. And some people came in and they had some scratches on their hood and stuff like that, and they didn't want to pay to have it all done, to paint the whole car. And he said, "Well, I think I can fix that." So he got out a striping brush and put some scratch lines over the scratches and stuff like that, and it worked out. And he did that for other people too. And then same thing happened with scallops. They used to call them scallops back then, and flames. If they had some dents or something that was worked on the front fenders and that, they would put scallops on it or flames on the car, and it caught on. So, and that was in 53. So I asked my grandfather if he wouldn't mind doing my friend's car, because he got a car. And he said, "No, I'll try it." So he striped the dash on that. And then he says, "I think I'd like to go into business doing this." So I said, "Well, that'd be great." I says, "How about me? What am I going to do?" He said, "Well, you can just do the crazy pictures on the cars and stuff like that. The weird stuff, And I says, "Okay." So we worked out of his garage. That was in 1953. And one afternoon, a guy came in with a pickup truck, and he wanted to have it striped from my grandfather. And he left it there with us, and I didn't have anything to do, so I was looking at the truck, and he says, "Why don't you go in the back and try to put something on the back of the tailgate?" And I says, "Okay." Well, so he gave me a striping brush. And I had no experience with it. He showed me how to load it and all that. But I had art experience, and I wasn't going to give up. So I went ahead and tried to do that. And he came around the back and he says, "Just leave it on there." And I said, "Oh, okay." So from that point on, I was striping. So and I got better at it. of course.
Would that have been like design kind of stuff, like what we see Kenny Howard was doing at that time period?
Right. Yeah, just design work and stuff like that.
I guess.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for the people that are listening, if people are unfamiliar with the name Kenny Howard, that's a lot of people know.
That would be Von Dutch. Right. Yeah. He was a character. So, but anyway, we started doing the striping and stuff out of his garage, and then he wanted to make a little bit more money. So we went around to car lots that were doing paint jobs on their cars in the 50s and stuff like that. And we striped cars at different car lots. One of them was Clyde's car lot, and another one was Harry Mabe and Forey Walls and a few others. We striped, and we got a great big $10 a car to do them.
Well, you're in California now. Was this in California then at that time period too? Then
right, yeah. This is where everything started. All the pinstriping started right here in Southern California.
Was he in California when he was working for Studebaker and Ford then?
No. He was back east.
Okay.
No, he had moved out here and retired. So, but anyway, we did that, and we used to do 8 or 10 cars a day. And most of them I was doing, and I got $10 a week allowance. Can you believe that? And all the money got to my grandfather, which I didn't care. That was fine, He needed the money, and I just was happy to have the experience. And I had a job, at 13. So, and I just kept going. And then we got the shop with Ed Roth. That was probably 55, right in there.
Okay.
So,
have you been striping very long then at that point in time?
Roth?
Yes.
Well, he was just about like us. He was just starting in business. He had a business on Firestone Boulevard in Linwood.
Okay.
So, and then we found this one shop that was up for rent, and my grandfather thought, well, this would be pretty cool. We could have it here. And he says, let's stop by Ed Roth's place and see if he wants to join us. And he thought that was a great idea, so he did. And it was called Baron Roth and Kelly. Well, the Kelly part was kind of funny because I was the young kid, I was the grunt. And Ed Roth was where he had worked for Knott's Berry Farm. And he was a sign painter for them and an artist. And when he came over, he did the lettering on the building and stuff. So he put up their Crazy Painters and Baron and Roth, and then he put the Kelly way over in the corner on the bottom of the building by the garage door, and he put and Kelly, And I thought, well, you son of a gun, So anyway, I had to earn my way up. So
well, I'm kind of curious on that because I know that you do some of the I want to call them like monster or weirdo art.
Oh yeah.
And he was known for that. And we've talked to some other people that were probably around your age during the same time period that really, got into that part of it, and that's what led them to striping stuff. Was that already going on at that time period?
No, we started that at Baron Roth and Kelly.
Okay.
We started doing the weirdo shirts with the airbrush.
How did that come about?
Well, Ed was doing a few of them for his car club. It was Maywood. I'll think of it anyway. I'm old, so I lose my memory sometimes.
Hey, I do too, and I'm 39.
Well, I'm 83, so I've lost a little bit more.
Yeah, you're doing great.
So, but anyway, what happened was that being the grunt, we used to we went ahead and decided to do the shirts. We were doing so. We put ads in the hot rod magazines and stuff like that, and naturally they basically went all over the world. That was when Hot Rod magazine was about a 5x7, magazine. It was a little one. So we did that, and we started getting all these orders for that. So I ended up doing most all the shirts because I was the grunt, and I was doing about 25, 30 of those every day.
Wow.
So, and then they would ship them out, and we got $2.95 a shirt. And that included the shirt.
How much were shirts back then? No, that sounds like it would be pretty good for the time period if you're doing 25 of them a day at that.
Yeah, it was, but I wasn't married or anything yet. So I got my wife sitting over here. We've been married we're going on 66 years right now.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. But anyway, we would do all the shirts and stuff, and then I would do striping and everything like that also. So,
and I'm curious if you were doing the weirdo designs and those characters, and Roth was also doing them. Where did sort of that idea for these exaggerated characters come from? Like, did y'all see them somewhere?
Basically from Roth.
Oh, okay.
He liked to draw the weird things, so I just grew right into it.
Okay.
I just made them up too. So, but we used to get the information from the different orders.
Mm-hmm.
They would send a note of what they would like on the shirt. In fact, I still got some of those in a little place there where I keep them for memories.
That's
of all over the world, from Australia and for Japan, different places all around. And they would tell me or tell us what to put on them. They wanted a weird character driving a 53 or whatever, car, and fix it all up, put flames on it, So it was different things. Everyone was different.
I think it's really interesting, just kind of a perspective thing. A few years back, I want to say, 6 or 7 years ago, I started for just a very short while at Six Flags here in Texas doing caricature art. And the same company that does that had the airbrush booth there doing T-shirts and stuff. It's just interesting to think of how much that's been everywhere. I've seen it in malls. I've seen it all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of all kind of comes back to that time period.
Yeah. People, it's so natural now to see a shirt with advertising on it or characters on it or whatever, and all kinds of things. And that all started from those weirdo shirts.
Yeah, it's just that's kind of mind-blowing to see where something like that has gone.
Yeah. I mean, nobody knows who started it. They might have wondered who started it, but it basically started from Ed and I. My grandfather from the Crazy Painters.
How incredible is that? That's just really neat.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It is very incredible that happens,
Yeah.
So, and believe it or not, I've got a young man in Japan that he loves the weirdo shirts. And from the Crazy Painters, Kelly Roth, or Baron Roth and Kelly. And he called me and he wanted to order some. So I said, well, yeah, I'll do them for you. Because I haven't done shirts in a long time, but I still know how to do them. But, and he's ordered 3 times, a dozen, 2 dozen shirts for Japan.
On kind of the technical side, I guess, where that's concerned, we've never talked about those before on this podcast, but at that time period, I know you said you're airbrushing them. What were airbrushes like, and then what paints were you using?
Well, we're using textile paints. Okay. From materials, but the basic, what we do is we'd put them up on the board. We had 1x12s up along the wall, and so we could tack them up top and bottom and stretch them out so that they were there. And then we had to put a board in between them so that it didn't get all the way through to the front. And then my grandfather would take some Day-Glo paint, and he'd put orange and lime green, the yellow green. He put that on the shirts and then let that dry overnight. And in the morning, I'd have to do all the black stuff on them. So
okay.
Pardon?
Oh, so it was kind of a multi-day or multi-stage kind of situation. I didn't know Dayglow was around then.
Oh yeah. It was, but it basically didn't last that long. It faded out.
Kind of doesn't.
Yeah. So, but that's what we did for those. And then in between we striped cars and put the scallops on them and flames and whatever, all that type of stuff. And Ross's first car he built, the Beatnik Bandit.
Yes,
he did that at our shop. He put it together with a mold. He'd make a mold out of plaster of Paris and all that. You should have seen him when he's working on it, because he worked with his shirt off and he had a big belly out there, and he had all this white stuff all over him. It was he just wipe it on his belly. But he was working. That's the way he worked. He's the one that used to finger his brush, for getting paint from the heel to the tip. That's where I learned that. I still do that to this day.
And
nobody else really does it. Yeah, he just wipe it on his clothes. So
I still see some people do a finger paletting. They say it helps. Like if you're in a car and you're inside inside of the car and you don't have anywhere to pallet, they just kind of run it through their fingers and it kind of repallets, right?
Right. Yeah. You just bring it down. It makes the paint last longer on the brush. Mm-hmm. If you get it from the heel to the tip.
That's kind of been, I guess, I don't know, maybe a controversial kind of topic with some folks, because a lot of people are worried about health hazards and stuff like that on that. Has that been a concern to you, or?
Well, my hands have been in paints since I was 13, and I have no problem with it. My lungs are fine. My hands are still moist and stuff. They're not all dried out. So I think God made it for me to paint. So, and that's the way I look at it.
The flames. You mentioned doing flames and other stuff like that. Were y'all spraying cars then?
Yeah.
That's part of your business?
Yeah. It was like right inside the garage. We just shut the garage door and spray it. So, and then they had to be striped afterwards.
I guess I have a whole bunch of questions kind of going through my head at the moment. I should have asked earlier, where is it that you're located right now?
Right now, I live in Cypress, California. It's like 5 miles from Knott's Berry Farm and 7 miles from Disneyland. So,
and is that where y'all were then too, or
no? That's my dog. Buddy, you got a guy cleaning the carpet today in the den room, at the other room. So he's barking on here. Makes it a family affair.
There you go. He wants to get his word in about that.
That's right. Now he's going out of the room there. Now he's chasing the guy around a little bit. He don't bite. So, but anyway, what was the question again? Let's get back on it.
Where was the first shop that y'all had located?
It was in Southgate. The address was 9001 South Atlantic.
Do you still have a shop today, or?
Well, I have a shop. I'm semi-retired. I gave it to my son, so he's working the shop. He builds cars for SEMA and paints them all up and does all the motocross trucks and all that type of thing for them.
Does he do pinstriping at all, or?
No, I got to do that for him. So But anyway, we're still in the business. He is, and I'm just working out of my garage. I go out there every day and paint pictures and do whatever I want to do.
That's cool.
I'm sitting here right now in my paint clothes. So.
Where can people find your artwork at then if they were interested in trying? We've kind of looked on the internet and there's really not a whole lot to be find there. I know you've got a website, but
well, I don't deal with the computer too much myself.
Right.
But I usually do two shows. I either do the SEMA show and I do the Grand Nationals, which is coming up next week.
Yes. We actually, so there's me and Freddie here that do the podcast, but we have a girl that does the computer side of it, I guess, for us, the social media kind of marketing stuff. And she's come into that. She's super excited. She's a big fan. She's been sending us messages all morning, excited that we're interviewing you.
Oh, is she going to the Grand Nationals?
She is. She's going there to stripe at the event. So.
Oh, she's going to stripe there. Okay. Yeah, well, I'll be there too.
Yeah, so that's kind of neat.
Yeah, I'll have all my artwork there. Tell her to bring her camera.
I will.
Yeah.
Probably on her phone, so.
Yeah, more than likely that's the way the cameras are. Everything, it's all on the phone.
Did you say Freddie, did you have something to say there?
I was curious to know, is there a website at all, or I guess he just asked, right? Well, what would be the best way for somebody to contact you if they wanted some work done, basically, is what I'm trying to figure out.
Call me on my phone.
Okay.
I'll answer it.
Okay. Is your phone number listed, or is that something that you want to give out or not?
No, you can give it out. That's the one you called me on.
Okay.
That's my cell phone.
All right, no problem.
In other words, if anybody out there that's listening to this that wants to learn how to pinstripe or any of that, and they need some reassurance on how to do it, the basic part of it is you got to practice. I can show people, like right now, I'm the last of the original 7 that started all of this. It was Von Dutch.
List that 7 as.
I'm going to give it to you right now.
Okay.
It was Von Dutch, Dean Jeffries, Art Summers. Not too many people know of him. He did a lot of the antique cars and stuff. A very good straight line striper. Tommy the Greek in San Francisco, and then the Baron, Roth, and myself. All the other 6 have passed on. I'm the last one, and then everybody else that's out there striping and doing all that, I'm the last one on the ladder. They're all come after me.
That's awesome. How do you feel from when you started to now? Like, how do you feel like pinstriping is moving as an art? Do you feel like it's slowing down? Do you feel like there was an ebb and flow?
No, it's still going, and it's still going strong, and it's just evolved. And like all my pictures that I do right now, they all include pinstriping with them.
Mm-hmm.
So if the people are collectors and stuff like that, I got about 300 out in my garage, different pictures.
And do you sell your originals?
Yeah, that's all I sell is originals.
That's awesome.
I don't do any prints.
We spoke to Craig Judd a while back, and he actually doesn't sell any of his originals. So it's interesting to see people's different ideas when it comes to originals.
I don't fall in love with my work. I sell it to other people.
Understandable. Yeah.
I
the same way.
But it's what I do. I got a house full of it here. Everything in here I've done. So I've got antique stoves that I've pinstriped all up and got murals on them, like cash register and paintings on the wall and lampshades and moose antlers that are all carved. I got all kinds of stuff here.
Nice. And for somebody that's just wanting to start out pinstriping, what would be some advice that you would give to somebody that's brand new, that's wanting to get into the business aspect, maybe?
Well, first of all, I would welcome them aboard, tell them to come on in, the water's fine. and not to worry about anybody else except yourself.
That's nice. Yeah.
You know, don't do, you know, I would suggest, you know, most of the stripers now, they use tiny brushes. I call them, you know, they use aught, double aught, triple aughts, you know.
Yeah.
And I call those sissy brushes, you know, because they, you know, I use a 1, an Andrew Max 1 or a 2.
Mm-hmm.
2 I mostly use for outlining flames and stuff like that. And they're a larger brush, but anything that the other people can do with their, from the aught to the triple aught, I can still do with that number 1, including the thickness of the line. The only difference between what I do and what they do with my brushes is that I can do it without reloading. You know, I can take a brush and on a number 1, I can pull a 40-foot line without stopping.
Yes, because there's so much hair on it, right?
There's a lot of material there, and it's how you mix it and how you can walk the distance.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I can't walk that distance anymore because I'm using a walker, but my arms are good and my hands are good and my mind's good, you know, so I can still paint.
It's fantastic.
I know that's been a big struggle for me is walking distance with the line. I think part of it's probably I've got one leg that's actually 2 inches shorter than the other, and I end up kind of bouncing more than I'd like to. But I'm curious if there's anything that you would recommend for people as far as tips on pulling longer lines like that and walking them.
Well, what I do is I'm left-handed, so that's a different deal for most people. But I take and put my right hand on the car, and I walk backwards. But I tiptoe backwards, you might say. I do like a little dance step where I don't jump up and down. I just, when I take the step, I put my weight on my arm on the car and let it move back, you know.
Okay.
So it's just, it's a coordination deal, you know.
And I'm assuming you follow tape as a guideline?
I use a tape, 1/8-inch piece of tape.
Okay. And I
pull that the full distance, and then I go and just put my hand on that and follow with my fingers, and I can do it.
And do you pull the line above it or below it?
I pull it above it.
Okay.
I put my 3 fingers on the tape line so I can feel it on the tips of the finger,
mm-hmm.
And then I push on it so I can feel it. The thing stays straight, and then I just move it on.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious.
I go right over the doors, you know, the opening, the little cracks,
yeah.
You know, because you got to lighten up a little bit, and then you got to push it back down on the other side.
Right.
But it's, you know, you can always stop and then go back the other way and touch up the door a little bit. But, you know, it's basically an easy pull.
Maybe for you.
Well, no, if you can make it hard by thinking it's hard.
Yeah, that's right. You're probably right on that. Yeah.
You know, and it's a lot of confidence in yourself.
Yeah,
you got to have the confidence that you can do it, and you just do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always told people. I had a young lady in here the other day that she wanted to learn how to do it. And I says, you have to, you know, if you make a mistake, the best thing you can do is make something out of it. You know, use your brain, think of what it could be. I don't care if you draw a picture on it, but make something out of it. You never make a mistake painting. Fix it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've done a lot of things in my life that I've made a mistake on, and I fixed it, and it comes out better than I would have if I hadn't done it. You know, so you can learn a lot of things on that.
Yeah.
But it can always wipe off.
Yes.
You know,
and
you don't have to
go ahead.
You don't have to be worried about it, you know.
And to that point,
I say
sorry.
I never make a mistake. At least that people know about. I've always fixed it to where you don't even know it's a mistake. So,
And
one of the main things, you got another question?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I was just curious about what sort of paint you're using these days, and what's it like, how, if that's changed over the years as well.
Well, the paint that I use, well, you still got one shot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the main. That's an enamel base. But on my paintings, I use all PPG work. And PPG actually owns one shot now.
Okay.
So, but I've got a cupboard full of one shot out there, and I've got urethane PPG paints, all the colors that I can use on my pictures. Because I like it. I like the way it dries quickly, and I can put my hand back on it. And I like to do things quick. I like to see them done.
Is that with like airbrushing on the pictures and stuff? You're using the urethanes and then coming back
everything, urethanes and the brush.
Okay.
It's all the urethane. Everything I got on the picture is PPG. So everything, if you're the girl that's coming out, if she looks at everything there is PPG.
Okay.
They're one of our sponsors.
Cool.
So my son uses all PPG stuff.
I've got a question, kind of to jump back a little bit, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
You were talking before about the original kind of 7 Pinstripers there, all of which that I know are all in California. Was there any interaction between y'all other than you, your grandfather, and Roth? Was there any interaction with like Dean Jeffries and Tommy the Greek? And
yeah, Dean Jeffries used to come by all the time. He was down the street from us. He worked with Barris on his place. And as far as Art Summers, no, we didn't see him very often, and I didn't see Tommy the Greek very often. But as far as liking them, I like them all.
Yeah, I was just
and
there's anything that brought you all together, because nowadays there's like you're going to the Grand National Roadster Show and stuff like that. If there was opportunities for you to get together and see what each other was doing, and I guess bounce ideas off of each other.
As far as I'm concerned, my shop is always open to any other painter that wants to come by. I've had them
make it out that way. I'm going to try.
I've had them from Japan come over there with groups. I've had them from LA Trade Tech come by with the class. It doesn't matter. As long as they want to learn, I'm there to show them.
That's awesome.
So I never turned anybody away. And some of my competitors, like Nat Quick and the rest of them, he was in Oklahoma. And he used to call me all the time. What do you use on this? What do you use on that? How do you do it? What brush you got? And I tell him I had no problem. Because there's no secret. It's not the brush and it's not the paint. It's your hand. It's you the one that's doing it. So, I mean, there's just no secrets. But we did have a little thing with Von Dutch. You want to hear it?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I'm curious.
Well, we was doing a show in Gardena, and it was a 56 Oldsmobile we were working on. We were doing some scallops and some striping on it. And we was doing it at the show so people could watch it. And my grandfather used to always wear a white coat, shop coat, and then his derby hat, that was all metal flaked. And I was working on the car, striping it, and this voice from the crowd started yelling out, "Copycat, copycat, why don't you do your own thing?" And my grandfather looked at him, and it was Von Dutch. And he always carried a pair of shears in his pocket. in that coat. He stepped over the line and chased him out of the building. That's the last time I saw Von Dutch. Because my grandfather was not a copycat. He was in it from Studebakers, on the wagons and buckets. So he didn't like that because he was picking on his grandchild. So anyway, that's the last time. Nothing really happened there other than I never saw it before.
It's really, really fascinating to hear stories of your grandfather and all. Again, it's one of those things I just don't feel like I hear as much information or see as much information about. You said y'all started together in 1953. How long did that last?
I'm still doing it.
Or for him?
Well, my grandfather died in 1963.
Okay.
So he passed on and left me with the shop. And by that time, Roth had already he went out on his own because my grandfather and him had a little money issue there of when you can work and when you're not supposed to work.
Right. I assume he was working up until 1963, probably.
Yeah.
Really
so he was working. I did most of the stuff for him, because he was older and right. He was my grandfather, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't need the money. I wasn't married yet.
Right.
And I got the experience. It's just like doing all those shirts, they thought it was give them to me and let him do it. I don't want to do them. So that's a lot of practice,
It's pretty awesome to have that family affair, to be able to work together with your families for so long. That's pretty awesome.
Right. Well, my real father, he passed away when I was a year old. So I didn't get to know him. And my grandfather was kind of like my father.
Mm-hmm.
So. But anyway.
It sounds like y'all had a great relationship there. I can see that.
Yeah, we did. So it's I wouldn't have it any other way. I love what I do, and I get to do it, and I still get to do it. So, and people still want me to do things, and that's great. Like you're interested in my history, and that's great. I'm glad to share it with you.
Yeah, it's been very interesting for us doing this because we feel like we're doing, I guess, history of justice and trying to capture stories and stuff from people and capture the history of stuff and preserve that and share it with people who might not know some of these names and stuff. I'm unfamiliar with Art Summers. That's a new name I'm going to have to dive into and see if I can find any information on.
Yeah, I think he was in Gardena, I think.
Okay.
Over that way.
Yeah, that's...
and then, I went through... You want to know some of the first that happened?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, do you know who was the first one to put airbrush in the lettering?
I don't know.
Me.
Nice.
1954 on Howard Brown's race boat. It was, I was putting some white lettering on it for him on his race boat, at a flat bottom race boat. And he built boats, Howard Brown. And I had some yellow in my airbrush. And I thought, hey, I could put some of that on here. Let me try it. So I put it on there, and that looks pretty good. So I thought, well, I need something else. So I put a little bit of red with it and made an orange out of it. And I put a little orange underneath the yellow. And then I put a black shadow on everything. And I said, hey, that looks pretty good. So, and then I used airbrush on everything. And then everybody else caught on to it. So.
Nice.
That's when I did it. And then, you ever follow the race cars and the racing boats and any of that? Dragsters, funny cars?
A little bit more not so much what's going on contemporary, but
back in the day when everything was painted.
right.
Yeah, we do check out the photos from back in them days.
Well, I did most of the race cars for Keith Black, the engine builder.
Nice.
And the first grills that were ever put on the cars, they were on McEwen and Perdone's Hot Wheel cars. I put those in on Winter Nationals. That was the first painted grill in the funny cars, so you could identify the cars.
Like fiberglass.
Yeah, it was all straight flat fiberglass. I put all the chrome and the headlights and all that stuff in them. And then NHRA made it mandatory that you put grills in them, so you can identify what kind of car it is.
That's neat.
So that came from me also.
That's awesome.
Because I've been around so long, hell, I had to come up with something.
Have you mostly worked out of your shop then, or did you ever travel and do work?
No, I didn't travel. I had a shop. They would bring all the race cars and stuff to me. All the race boats came to me. All those things,
And what did you guys do to try to market yourselves? Was it mostly just word of mouth?
Word of mouth.
Awesome.
That's the best kind of advertisement.
And for somebody these days that's also wanting to get into it, that's trying to get into the business, would you say same thing? Just go out and do the shows, or?
Well, your work speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody likes what they see and they ask the person who did it, as long as you've treated that person nicely and you gave them what they wanted, they'll tell them. And then they'll make an appointment with you and they'll get something done too. But I still work that way today. I don't sign anything, except now they want me to sign them. Because I'm getting too old, so they want my signature on them. Before I die. You know what I mean?
So for a long time, you didn't sign your work?
Nope.
Nice.
Nope, I didn't sign it. I just left it that way, and I figured if anybody liked it, they would ask them.
Yeah.
And I used my own customer as my advertising.
Awesome.
So, but I always treated my customers right. I did go a couple of times. I went on different states and done some work for people, but I always worked by appointment, at home. And I was doing this unlimited hydro in Washington, and he had a race car and stuff he wanted to do on that. And then he wanted me to do something else, and I says, I can't do it. I says, I got an appointment tomorrow. I got to be back. He says, but I'll pay you. I says, I know that. But if I don't show up for my appointment, my guy is going to get mad at me because I didn't show up. And he's going to tell 4 other people, don't go to him. He doesn't honor his appointments.
Yeah. There's a fella locally that I've gotten some return work from, and he loves that I show up 10 minutes early. Oh my God, he rants and raves. He says, when Freddie's going to be here, he's going to be here. So I think people really take that into account,
They should, because I don't like it if they don't show up when I have an appointment.
Yeah. So
generally they'll call and say, I can't make it tomorrow. So I said, well, that's okay. We'll make it another day. Mm-hmm. But I never treat them badly. I never say, well, you son of a gun. No, I don't do that. And I always treat them like I want to be treated.
Absolutely. And do you find that also people, I always get it all the time, that when you go to start to do something, inevitably they start asking for more as you're there?
Yeah, I always give them more to start with. When I see something that needs to be done, I say, I'm going to put something over here. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So, I don't shortchange anybody.
Yeah.
And I don't take, if I have an appointment and somebody comes in and they offer me $500 more to do the job, I don't take it.
Mm.
I keep my appointment, even though the appointment was only $100.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, I can't deviate from my own self, but I can't do that to people. And here's the kicker. Everybody, I'm sure they ask you, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Do they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My answer is simple. I just look at them. I says, it's very simple. I hold the brush and God moves it for me.
Well, there you go.
And that's my answer. And he does that. You know, I'm not a Bible thumper, but that's my man. He's kept me busy all these years. He's given me a good wife. I got 12 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren. So,
well, that's great. And it seems to put you on a positive path as well.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So, and he's right on my easels. I've got his picture up there. So, just a small one, but it's there. So,
You mentioned children and grandchildren. Have you had anybody else in your family that has taken up pinstriping at all ever? Or?
They tried. They said, well, we'd like to learn how to do it. I had 2 of them want to try to do it. They lasted one day. They said, that's too hard. I can't do that. You know, they don't have the stick to it. No, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I have young kids right now, and one of them's kind of taking a bit of an interest. So I like to ask questions like that because I'm curious how people have cultivated that or how that's happened, I guess, for other people and their families.
Yeah. Well, you know who Dave Whittle is?
I do not.
Neither do I.
Okay, he's a I know partner of mine. When he first came, he swept the floor. He says, I want to learn how to do this. So I said, well, I don't need any help. I'm just a one-man shop. So I says, you know, if you want to learn, I'll be happy to teach you and show you what I know. And then after that, it's all up to you to keep doing it until you get it, you know? So, and now I think he's retired now, but he's made his whole life out of pinstriping and lettering.
That's awesome. And I think that's rare to know people that make their entire money off of art, you know, pinstriping, lettering.
Yes, it is. It's very rare. I'm very blessed to have been able to do that without a problem. So, and I've done stuff on my front yard when I didn't have a shop. I lost that Baron Roth and Kelly shop because they sold it out from under me. They didn't think I was old enough to make the payments.
Oh, geez.
So I had to make a living. I had 2 children and we had to rent. So I just have them bring it over to the house and put it on my front lawn. I just lettered them out there until I got another shop.
You said you've done, striping, you've lettered race cars and boats and so forth, and the shirts and art pieces, I guess, with the creatures and stuff like that on it. Have you done anything else art-wise, or was signs ever a part of your business? Or
signs? I do a lot of the lettering on all the race cars. Had all the lettering on there,
but never like commercial signs for shops or
no. All mine was custom. And what I did and what I still do is my grandfather a long time ago. I started over again. He bought me a lettering book, how to letter, and I looked at him. And I says, who did the lettering in here? He says, well, somebody did it. I said, yeah, well, I want to do it my way. So why do I have to look at somebody else's and copy theirs? So, and I have. I've done it all my own way, and people have seemed to like it. In New York and in New Jersey, they got a Kelly script from my script.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, but I figured out a way to make a one-stroke, really pretty capital letters, all one stroke in one movement. So, and that's fun. Thick and thin.
I'm trying.
I'll taking notes because I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up myself.
I have to show that to you. If you come to the show or decide to take a trip out here, I'll have to show you how I do that.
Maybe since Alicia's coming out there, we can have her act on our behalf and take some pictures.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
it's just an easy movement. You know, it's just you have to know how to work. You have to know how not to work the brush, and what the brush will take when you move.
Yeah. And what do you use as like? What were you using back in the day for reducers and such? That has anything changed from what you used back in the day till now, as far as really any of the supplies?
Yeah, I've always liked a fast reducer.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else uses, turpentine, stuff like that, and different things that are slow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that.
So what are you talking?
I want to be able. I want to be able to put one color on there, and then if I have to put another color with it, I want that color to stay where it's at and not blade into the other color.
Yeah.
So it has to be somewhat packed up a little bit to where mine doesn't move it. And I do it right away. I'll go, if I want to put a white letter down and I want to put a blue shadow on the inside, I'll put that right after I put the white letter down. I go right back over it with the blue, and then right back over it with a little darker blue, and put all the different shades in it and go from there, and it all stays.
And you're able to
run your finger. I use a fast thinner.
Okay.
Right now, what I'm using is the PPG 885.
Okay.
And that's a fast reducer, and there's an 870 that's faster than that. I like that one too.
Do you have to clean your brush more often with stuff like that?
Nope.
All right.
Nope. It doesn't dry in your brush. As long as you keep it wet, you're okay.
Ah, okay.
So, but if you sit your brush down, you need to put it in thinner first anyway.
Yeah.
You don't want to let any of your paints dry on your brush, because you're going to get some hair that's not supposed to be in that direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here's a hint for you. If you do have a brush that you've laid down and it got bent, have you ever had that?
Yes.
Okay. Wash it out with thinner, and then go get some shampoo.
Okay.
Put shampoo on your fingers and wipe it on that hair of the brush. Wash it off with water, put it back in the thinner, and you've got a straight brush again.
Nice. Do you oil your brushes as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I put oil on them, but I don't I just use motor oil.
Yeah, there's some what's the word on that, Jack? Controversy on which oils should be used on these brushes nowadays.
Well, mine, I've never had any problem with motor oil.
Mm-hmm.
A 30 weight, it doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you got some, put it on. If not, you can buy the brush lubricant, which, it's just a lubricant. It's like an oil anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but just use that. I've never had a problem with it because I use my brushes every day. So, they're not sitting in a box and waiting to get wet again.
And how long do you suppose, do you have one like that's working well for you? Do you use it for the most part the same brush until it's wore down?
Yeah. But I use the same brush. Right now I use 3 different size brushes.
Mm-hmm.
I use a sharp. I used to use a Lang nickel, but they don't make them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a short hair. I don't use the long hair brush. I use 1 1/8 inches.
Okay.
That's it. And I can do circles around anybody else that wants to play with me.
And what brand did you say that was?
What's that?
Did you mention the brand?
Yeah, Scharf.
Scharf. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. SCHARRF.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I painted houses a long time ago, and I was painting for an older painter at the time that I think he was still painting full time and in his late 60s, probably early 70s at the time. And he had worked with his father, before that. And he was telling me one time that somebody, I don't remember, they were bragging about something, and he looked at him and said, I could paint with a rake if I wanted to.
Yeah, you can. I paint with my finger all the time.
Yeah.
As long as if you want to paint, you can paint any way you want to.
Yeah.
But it's better with a better brush. So,
kind of looking at the time that we have here, and we've kind of come up a little bit around an hour. There's a question that me and Freddie often end with. I don't know if he talked to you about beforehand, but wondering if there was any stories that you would like to share that might be exceptionally funny, or I don't know, something that stands out to you that you'd like other people to hear.
All right, this has to do with business. Okay.
All right.
I had a 56 Chevy, and I was over at Custom City, and that's where I had the shop at that time. And he wanted a pinstripe. I said, sure. So I always ask everybody as I'm working on the car itself, I put a line down and I says, how's that look? He said, it looked good. Perfect. I do more of it. Got both sides done. Do the design on the hood. How's that look? Oh, it looks great. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Around the handles, around the deck lid, everything. And I said, how does it look? Is it okay? He says, well, yeah. He says, but can you do one thing for me? I says, what's that? He says, can you make the line half that size? I says, why didn't you tell me that when I put the first line on there? So what do you think I did?
Wiped it off?
And?
Did it half its size?
I wiped it off and put it back half the size.
Oh, man.
Customer is always right.
Yeah.
I had a similar, but I guess in reverse situation one time where I finished a car and I had asked them, ahead of time if they liked everything. And when I was done, he said, it's just a little too skinny and I can't quite see it enough. Can you go back and make it fatter? So absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like, let me wipe it off and I'll do it again for you. And I didn't charge him any more money either. Just same price.
Nice.
But I went after he left, I'm like, you shithead. But I didn't say that to him. As far as he knows, everything's fine.
Yeah.
That was years and years ago.
Well, I see why people keep coming back to you.
Well, I mean, it is your business,
mm-hmm.
and you're making a living at it. So you might as well make the best of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best of it makes you have to do something over.
Yeah.
Not because they don't like it; it's just not exactly what they had in mind. But I always tell the people this is, if they're wanting something on their car that I know is not going to look good, I'll tell him, I says, I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to tell you right now, you won't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it on. I said, yeah, you're right. It doesn't work. So, but I always give them the benefit.
Yeah.
Because it's their pocketbook. I had another guy come in, and he wanted some striping on his car. And I always work with cash. I said, I don't want any checks. And he said, well, I have to go to the bank. I said, okay, you go ahead and go to the bank. And because he says, just down the street. He says, and I'll go ahead and work on your car. He came back and had his car all done. And he says, I asked for the money. And he says, well, I didn't get it. He says, well, how come you didn't get it? He says, they wouldn't cash my check. How come? He says, well, you insufficient funds. And I says, and you expect me to take your check? So I let him go out and mark it up as advertising.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wipe it off.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes you can get people that you don't suspect. I had a guy, and I felt bad for him. He was an invalid. He had like a palsy of some type,
Mm-hmm.
and he was selling first aid kits. And I says, well, if you were here yesterday, and this is the truth, I says, I just got a first aid kit from one of my daughters that was in the Girl Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
I just bought it. And he says, well, is it a good one? And I said, well, I think though. He said, stick it up your, and he hobbled out. I was shocked at that one. Oh, he used the word, but I wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and scratch my head. I said, what?
Wow.
How do you expect to sell anything if that's your attitude? But anyway, you guys are welcome to come out to my place and look whatever I've got. You're welcome to look at, and we can swap brushes with you.
Every now and then I make it out to California, and I will definitely keep that in mind. And next time I go, that would be maybe the destination in my book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to have a field trip, a podcast field trip we'll take Alicia with us.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that.
Well, we definitely appreciate it, and it's really been really, really good talking to you. And man, wealth of great information and great stories and history there. I truly appreciate you taking the time for us today.
Well, that's all right. That's as long as it helps somebody else out there. And if anybody wants to call me, they're more than welcome to. I'll answer the phone. So,
well, that's very gracious of you, and we really do appreciate your time, sir. And
well, I think that's why it grows, is because do you ever watch Count's Customs?
Yeah, I watch that.
Yeah, with Ryan on there.
Mm-hmm.
I had him with me at the Grand Nationals. I asked him if he'd like to come and paint with me and do the stuff, and he said sure. And at the SEMA show, I saw him,
mm-hmm.
and we swapped a few brush marks together.
Nice.
And he put his brush down and backed off. I said, "What's the matter?" He says, I use your style quite a bit. And I said, "Well, that's all right." He says, "But I can't keep up with you." And that was nice. I said, "Okay, that's all right." But,
he seems like a genuinely good guy. So
that was with my number 4 Sharp brush.
Sharp. I gotta find.
Yeah. So you can get them at Coast Airbrush. You can send off for them, and they'll mail them to you.
Oh, okay.
Tell them you want the brushes that Kelly uses, the Sharp.
All right. Yeah.
But it's an interesting. I don't use the big long hair things. They're too You know, the Kafka brushes and that. Have you tried them?
Oh, those are my favorite.
They're your favorites?
Yeah. Well, I like to do the scrolling stuff, and that's what caught my eye to begin with was the scrolls and such. So, I went for the scroll brush, and that's what I like to do design work with. But I do see that there is a limitation to it. I can't get as thin of a line. It kind of breaks up on me after about a foot. It's really just not meant for all that. It's meant for scrolls, but yeah, I like them myself.
Yeah. Well, he sends me his brushes. He wants me to use them. And I told him, I says, Steve, I don't use your brush.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing a show together at, I think it was in, where the hell was it? And he was out of state.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his new brush, one of his new brushes, and we have tables that are set up for us when we do the striping thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 8-foot tables, and it was about 4 tables together. And then there's a paper on top of it. And he was showing me his brush. And I said, Steve, let me see that brush. So he showed it to me. I loaded it up, and I went all the way down to the other end. And I did a loop-de-loop all the way back 30-some feet.
Wow.
And then in front of him was the paper still, and I did all the swirls and stuff at the very end of it with him. And then I handed him his brush and said, it's your turn. He didn't make it that far. It's all in how you mix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, you guys sound like a fun group there.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I appreciate you calling.
Yeah, thank you very much. And all right, I hope you have a good day.
You too. And if anybody needs my help, just have them call me. So,
all right. Thank you.
All right. You guys take care.
You too.
All right.
You so
you
much.
too.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.